Salem Village, Massachusetts, 1692. At first glance, it was an ordinary Puritan settlement, cold winters, hard labor, strict faith. But beneath the surface, Salem was already breaking apart. The people of Salem lived in constant fear, not just of hunger or disease, but of God's punishment. They believed the devil was real, active, and always searching for weak souls. Every misfortune had a supernatural explanation. A failed harvest, a sudden illness, a child's death. Nothing was random. Salem was also deeply divided. Wealthy merchant families lived closer to Salem town, while poorer farming families struggled inland. Old grudges, land disputes, inheritance conflicts, and church politics had been festering for years. Neighbors did not trust each other. Suspicion was already a way of life. Then, in January 1692, something strange happened in the household of Reverend Samuel Parris. His young daughter Betty and niece Abigail began behaving erratically. They screamed without reason. They convulsed. They claimed to feel invisible hands choking them. Doctors were called, but they found no physical illness. One explanation remained: witchcraft. Under pressure, the girls named their tormentors. The first accused were Sarah Good, a homeless beggar; Sarah Osborne, an unpopular woman who defied social norms; and Tituba, an enslaved woman from the Caribbean. These were not powerful people. They were outsiders. When Tituba was interrogated, she confessed, likely under threat or torture. But her confession was explosive. She claimed witches were everywhere. She spoke of black dogs, red cats, and secret meetings with the devil. That confession ignited Salem. Fear spread faster than reason. If witches were real, and one had confessed, then anyone could be next. And Salem was ready to believe it. Once the accusations began, they became impossible to stop. Children accused parents. Servants accused masters. Friends accused friends. Saying someone was a witch required no proof, only conviction. And the courts accepted something called spectral evidence. Testimony that a person's spirit appeared in a dream or vision to cause harm. No physical evidence was needed. If the accused denied the charge, it meant they were lying. Witches always denied. If they confessed, it proved guilt. Either way, escape was nearly impossible. Special courts were established. Judges believed they were doing God's work. They saw Salem as a battlefield between heaven and hell. By mid-1692, dozens were imprisoned in filthy jails. Some were chained to walls. Some were kept in darkness. Families were ruined overnight. Executions began in June. People were not burned, as often believed. They were hanged. One man, Giles Corey, was pressed to death with stones for refusing to enter a plea, hoping to protect his family's property. The accused ranged from poor beggars to respected church members. Status no longer mattered. Once accused, you were marked. The hysteria fed on itself. Each execution convinced the community they were winning against evil. Each accusation justified the last. But quietly, doubts began to grow. Prominent ministers questioned the trials. Even Governor William Phips grew uneasy when accusations reached his own family. Salem was spiraling out of control, and the same fear that started the trials was now threatening to destroy the entire colony. By the autumn of 1692, the Salem Witch Trials had crossed a dangerous line. The fear that once united the town had begun turning inward. Accusations no longer focused on the poor or the socially weak. Ministers, merchants, and even the wives of respected leaders were being named. When witchcraft reached into the highest levels of society, the illusion of control shattered. One moment changed everything. Increase Mather, one of the most influential Puritan ministers in New England, openly criticized the use of spectral evidence. He warned that it was better for 10 guilty witches to escape than for one innocent person to be executed. This was a radical statement in a society that believed it was fighting Satan himself. Governor William Phips listened. In October 1692, Phips intervened. He dissolved the court of Oyer and Terminer, the special court, responsible for the executions, and banned spectral evidence. Without it, most remaining cases collapsed almost immediately. The trials stopped as suddenly as they had begun, but the damage was irreversible. By the time the hysteria ended, 20 people were dead, several more had died in prison, and dozens of families were financially and socially destroyed. Property had been seized. Reputations were ruined beyond repair. Children were left orphaned. Neighbors could no longer trust one another. What followed was something even rarer than the trials themselves: regret. In the years after, judges publicly apologized. Jurors admitted guilt. The colony passed laws compensating victims' families. In 1711, convictions were officially overturned, and names were cleared, though far too late for the dead. The Salem Witch Trials became a warning carved into history. They exposed how fear can overpower reason, how authority can become dangerous when fueled by belief instead of evidence, and how ordinary people, convinced they are doing the right thing, can commit extraordinary injustice. Salem did not fall because witches existed. Salem fell because fear was given power. Today, the trials stand as one of the darkest chapters in American history, not because of the devil, but because of what humans are capable of when panic replaces truth. And that is why Salem is remembered, not as a story of magic, but as a lesson written in blood.